Hey there, paper geeks and glitter nerds, it's Neenah the Crazy Geek Crafter. And this is a two-part video. This is part one, where I start out by laying out the pieces I need to make the couple, the bride and groom. And I have planned this out for a while. I wanted to make a wedding card after I got the misters of this series, and then a friend of mine was going to a wedding, so I had an opportunity to actually make a real couple. So that's what I'm doing here. I have picked the wrong beard. I showed my friend all of the pieces. She didn't have a picture of the couple. Apparently they don't do social media. That's okay. So I had to ask her about everything, and I picked the wrong beard. She had actually picked another one, but I will remember before the end and fix it. But I picked out all the basic pieces that I need. She's also chosen eyes and smiles and everything. So I should have everything ready, and then if I remember to do it right, that'll be perfect. I'm going to be making everything in Neenah paper, since I'm going to be coloring it. Yeah, and Jana needs to play. I'm going to be coloring it with my Shin markers. Yeah, so let's get everything cut out to start with. And remember, keep an eye on the ears, because they have a tendency to get lost. I was so happy that the man has his ears attached to his head. That's wonderful. That's so wonderful, because I almost always lose the ears of the Missy here. With all the pieces cut, I am ready to color, but I have been contemplating her hair. And she mostly wears her hair in a ponytail, but I figured I'd give her I call it the bridal bun, because it just makes it easier to attach the veil, doesn't it? So I figured I'll make a bun on top of her head and make some of it hang down behind her to resemble that ponytail. That was the word. And she doesn't have bangs or anything, so I'm going to have to correct that too on the die cut. Sorry. It's so hot today. Or actually, it's not hot. It's humid. It's like 97% humid last time I checked. And it's just... I keep losing my trail of thought. It's so annoying. So here, the ears, keep the ears close. I managed to not lose them this time. I'm so impressed. But I almost did. I almost threw them out. But keeping the pieces on this piece of paper makes it easier for me to not lose anything. So I need a very pale color for her. Pale color, but a little bit darker on him. She needs blonde hair and he needs brown hair. But to start with, I'm just writing out the skin colors because I'm gonna start there. Yeah. And I did pick pink for rosy cheeks, but it actually was a bit troublesome for me because the first head I ruined. Spoiler alert. I ruined the head. I was in such a hurry to get going that I stamped out the eyes and I colored over them, the lashes, and they smeared. So, but I'm keeping everything in as always because I want you to know that you can make mistakes and still fix it. And I make a lot of mistakes on this one actually. And I almost have to redo her entire body at the end. But I save it. Luckily. I'm still a bit annoyed. Because I got glue on her body. And it didn't want to come off. I was so annoyed with myself. It was one of those days where you just get glue everywhere. So remember to color in the ears. But that was a bit of foreshadowing. I'm just gonna... I've left a tiny bit of white on her body. That's because I know that the dress will at least go there. Cover her torso in the middle there. But I don't know how much will be showing of her arms and things. And the same with his neck. I'm gonna put him in a smoking. But I have... Well, at least that's what we call it in Danish. Well, the penguin attire. You know the one I mean, I hope. Black and white only, with the butterfly. And I don't know how high the color's gonna go, so I'm just coloring in to be sure that it looks right. I didn't need to color it all this low, but I just wanted to be safe. Better safe than sorry. And I did, at this point, notice that I'm going to have to stamp the eyes and the nose to be able to shade the face right, because you need some shading on the nose, in my opinion. Of course, you can do you, I do me. And his face comes completely cut apart. His nose is all on its own, and I actually struggled to figure out which way was up, how I was supposed to put it. This is wrong, I can tell you. And I had to stamp one piece at a time and then remove them. Whereas the lady, you see there, the eyes my friends chose, they were actually connected with her brows and her nose. So that means a little bit of finessing with the inks, because I can't give her black eyebrows when she's a blonde. So I use jellyfishing to stamp those, so I can find them and color them in with the hair color. And then her eyes get to be black. And I put her nose in a brown. It's called Crunchy Leaf. All of these are alcohol friendly, and that's very important because I'm coloring over them. And since I didn't have to, I didn't need the mouth just yet, I will keep that one for later, and then I can stamp it in Distress ink without any worries of it smearing or anything when I color, because the coloring is all done by then. And I choose Distress inks because I have a wider range of colors in that one. That's only because of my supplies. I didn't want anything too bright, because she apparently isn't a person who likes bright colors. The theme of the wedding, in terms of colors, is white, black, and gold. And the white and black is represented in what's it called? In marble. Now I just had to check his nose, which way he was supposed to turn. I do use Pinterest a lot to figure him out, because I never watched any of the release videos, and he's not really that popular on YouTube apparently. But let's change that. Let's bring him out often and make man cards. That sounded a bit sexist. I'm sorry. It's just, I always think lady cards are easy. If you're a lady, you know, flowers and pink and glitter. But those manly men who don't want cars or tools or something like that on their cards, what do you do with them? And this guy is perfect, because he can wink at you and everything. Yeah, I like him. This is what I was talking about the nose, and I also needed to find out where to put the shading on the cheeks, the pink. I forget on the second one, but this is how I do it normally. I do circle motions, because otherwise I get lines on the face for where the markers overlap. I also color in so that I on the bottom of the eyes, because otherwise I color in the eye whites, which I did on this one. And also there's the smear with the black ink. I was hoping it was going to be okay, but yeah, at the end I stamped a new one, and then I went away and let it dry completely. But I do the circular motion to color in the face so I don't get lines. I do get a little bit of variation in the skin tone, but it's not as bad as when you can just see that someone scribbled up and down all over the face, in my opinion. And here's the right beard. Here's the right beard. Yep. And the hair. And then her hair on the side here. There was actually not a lot of coloring in this, but it was important that it turned out right. Very important, actually. Yeah, I kept fiddling with her. But, yeah. And then again, you also have to make sure you have even layers all over. Otherwise, like, the forehead will be way darker than the area around the eyes, like I was almost about to do here. So, it's not my favorite thing, but I do think it's the best way I've found to do it, unless you want to die cut from colored cardstock. And that's where I get trouble, because most of the colored cardstock I have access to in my local craft store has texture. And I don't need a linen texture on the face of a person. But that's where the widest range of colors is. I can get plain cardstock, but I don't have the variety that I want when it comes to skin colors. You know, there are like, there's white, like twilight white. And then there is, you know, peachy white, so to speak. Flesh color is what I was taught it was called, but maybe, yeah, peachy. A bit of a peachy color. Oh, Jane, dear. This was a long project for her. It was very annoying. It took me like 9 days to make this card. So, about color. And then you can get maybe middle brown, like milk chocolate. And then maybe, if you're lucky, you can get a dark brown, like, you know, dark chocolate. But I want all the colors, you know? I love that people are so diverse. And see here, I forget the cheeks. That's stupid me. Because I know from experience that if you try to put them in after, it looks horrible. And I actually do try. And it doesn't look that horrible, but it was really hard to blend out. Because there's so much blender solution in the pale pink. It pushes away the brown like crazy. But yeah, the human rainbow. Oh, that would be an awesome slimline card. It would be a very big slimline card though, if I was going to do that many Missees on a card. You think that's possible? You know, like 10 Missees on a card. That'll be a huge card. Maybe that's more of a wall decoration than a card. Of course, right now there is Pride in Copenhagen, so if there was time for it, it would be now, and I don't have time. Since, well, I'm a lucky person, I get to go on vacation this year. My boyfriend is very nice and has invited me to go out of the country. And we are going south to where it's really, really hot. And hopefully less humid than here, because damn, it's been raining for a month or something. We may have had the warmest summer ever, but we also had the wettest summer ever. It's so weird. Climate change is getting undeniable. Not that I ever really denied it. I remember I had a boyfriend at one point, and his father asked me, I think this was back in 2006, maybe, 2007 maybe, and he asked me my opinion on global warming. And the only thing I could tell him was I hadn't made one because there was just so much information. It wasn't that I didn't want to take a stand for whatever I would believe was possible. It was just that the amount of research to make up my mind was just insane. And at this time, I was not very versed in the art of source or fact checking. And that's the good thing about having an extra hair. You can test it out. I actually like this method. I figured to color in the hair. Just have to be careful you don't color on anything you weren't supposed to, which would be the Missees. But back to the global warming. And I think about that question and how almost outraged he was that I hadn't formed an opinion. But there was just too much. There were so many people saying it was true, and there were almost as many saying that it wasn't, and it was just overwhelming. And now we're in the thick of it. I was afraid that it was true, but to be fair, I was hoping that it wasn't. But there's no denying it now, and I have to say, changing anything at this point seems like, well, it does seem a bit impossible to me. We are so, in the Western world, I'd say, we are so dependent on electricity for everything. I don't see how we could stop easily. Not to talk about all the things we use for the electricity, but also polluting when they're made. It's overwhelming. It really is. Now look at that hair. She got really pretty blonde. Blonde is always a color I'm afraid of. Sorry I got a bit political there or something, but yeah. I've been trying to loosen up and just speak about whatever comes to mind. I am not much of a coloring teacher. I can't tell you why this works, but I try things and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. I'm uncertain whether or not this was the right approach for the man's hair. Because it kind of looks like he put gel in his hands and just pressed it all backwards, like some kind of gangster movie from the, I don't know, before I was born times. Kind of like The Godfather. That was a good reference, which I actually know. That sleek hair, that's what this coloring kind of reminds me of. I wasn't that pleased with it, but I don't know how I should have colored it to get a different look, to get it to the more, is it the zeros or the 90s, where it was more gel in the hair to make it stand up, kind of. Well, if you have any tips, please leave them below, because I'm all ears. But yeah, he looks nice anyway, even though he looks like a bit like Godfather when his hair is like that. But that was how I tried it. Now I need a clean slate to try and figure out if everything is alright. Just testing out the pieces. And look at that. She is really pretty. I did actually think maybe I shouldn't put smiles on them or mouths, because they actually look pretty this way. Oh yeah. There was some white core showing on the beard, and I think also on the hair. I just took the marker around to make sure there was no white peeking out. And eyebrows for the lady. I just used the darkest marker from the hair to do that. Yeah. The project is running on, and we're not even halfway through. The only thing with these Missy dies, especially the human piece, is that they easily bow. So if your plates are warped, so will your die cut. I do try to reverse bend them when I have that problem. But now I'm making the color of his shirt, which should be white, of course. And then I'll be needing to make him a black jacket. And there's luckily a die for the butterfly. Now, I actually saw a video on how to do this, because otherwise I wouldn't have figured it out. One piece folds inwards so that the collar actually sticks up from the Missy man. And the other piece goes around his neck, and it's adjustable, so you can even leave the shirt open if you want. That is a very nice thinking there. But I need it to be closed. This is formal. So, a bit of shirt detail. And I saved the buttons up there in the little black bowl. And here's the black paper I'll be using for all of his details. First the butterfly. Oh yes. How come, no matter how many meters of table you have, there is never enough room? I'm always shifting things around. It is so annoying. So, I think I'm cutting the white piece for her dress here. And I need the bigger plates for that. Everything from the shoulders down won't go through the sidekick. And I'm cutting out his black part as well on his torso. And this style actually looks kind of nice. But I've opted for something more traditional for her dress. And now his part is ready and hers, and then it's just all of the thinking. Getting it to look right. And there's no jacket between Brian and Andrew here. I don't think there are any more guys. I don't think so. I know I'm missing at least one of the ladies. And here I'm drawing out a sketch. I like sketching out things before starting to do the cutting. Especially when I cut a piece, what I need to do for the jacket. I don't want to cut into it until I have a plan. So, new sketch. And I got it some reference photo here. I'm not going to do the pocket. I'm just going to do the blazer. Or whatever it's called. I have to say my vocabulary within clothing is not what it should be. Especially finer things like this. But I have a plan and I'm going to execute it now. I just need a piece to cover up his chest, mimicking the shirt that he would be wearing. I'm just copying the cutout. I thought it was easier than die cutting another one. And yes, this is a lot of Neenah paper being used, but I wanted the whites to match. So I just kept on going with these. And then I have to hold the color in place so I can draw where I should cut the shirt down to. Not easy, I'm telling you. It was not easy. It really didn't want to. But I made it in the end. Just have to make sure there are no pencil marks on anything, because that would show up very clearly on white. He's getting so nice. Becoming. Now I am drawing on the jacket part that I cut. I'm drawing one side and then I'm copying it in reverse to the other one. Not bad, in my opinion, that is. Of course, I made it so I can be happy, but I hope you think it's nice too. Now I need the, I don't know what they're called, those things on the sides. But I'm drawing out one and then I'm gonna copy it in reverse. I did notice that maybe I should scoot down the shirt detail there with the buttons to make everything fit. And I bent the top of the jacket so that I can cut off the excess in line with the shirt. So the color will cover that part. Here we go. And this one. And it did leave me with a bit of a problem with that thing underneath that I needed to glue down. But I made it in the end. Getting it to stay right. I have to lift up the butterfly a few paper levels so that it looks like it sits on top. But that's, well, it's a smaller problem. Here I'm folding a tiny piece so that I can glue it behind here. And then that gets glued onto the shirt. Oh, and remember the buttons. The buttons are important. Afterwards, I noticed that the other set, not the set I took this piece from, but in the other set, it has buttons with actually little tiny buttonholes. But it's going to have to do like this. Now I can move on to her. Yeah, okay. Bit of cleaning first and maybe cutting off the edges here. Finishing him up so that I can, well, this is a bit of procrastination. I was actually intimidated to make her wedding dress. You know, what if she didn't like it? Yeah, I'm being silly, I know, but it's just, I think for a day like this, it's important that that everything is perfect, or as close to as possible. So I'm looking for a piece that I can cut the halter, is that what it's called when it's off the shoulders from? I wanted her to have bare shoulders and arms, so this piece was a good barrier for that. And then I can use it to measure out where the bodice will go. And here comes the problem, her arms. I couldn't figure it out, so I had to take this set. I haven't used it for anything big yet. I really want to, because this is so cool with all the hands. But I just wanted to figure out how thick, that's the wrong word, I need her arms to be. But, you know, trying to figure out the distance I should cut it. I'm leaving these thin pieces so I know where it should touch the shoulders, but that's the main purpose of it. Well, it's time to move on to part 2, so let's get over there.